Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Hot Mic Show. I'm Bill Whittle from Los Angeles, coming to you live. And today we're talking about the difference between conservatives and Republicans. And one of the stories that was very, very alarming to me came out just a couple days ago when Eric Cantor, who you may remember is one of the Republican stalwarts who was leading the charge for repeal. He was one of those guys who was saying, we got to repeal this abomination of the Affordable Care Act. A couple days ago, Eric Cantor, who's been out of office for quite a while now, 4 or 5 years, I think 3, 4 years at least, Eric Cantor said he knew that this bill could not be repealed. He said he knew it. And he said other members of the Republican Party knew it too. Back as early as, 2013, 14, somewhere in there, 12, something like that. He said, we knew it couldn't be repealed, but we were raising a lot of money by promising to repeal it. Folks, when you hear forget about politicians breaking their promise. I'm not going to waste your time with this. This is as old as civilization. But just think about this for a second. If what he is saying is that this bill cannot be repealed because of the political fallout or whatever the case may be, then that means not only do we not have a republic anymore, we don't have a democracy anymore. My friends, we don't even have a tyranny anymore, because if you are basically saying that this law now has so much inertia that it simply cannot be stopped, what you are saying now is that the federal government is a runaway train going down a very steep hill and no one can stop it. No one can stop it. If it turns out that this bill cannot be repealed, then why do we even have representatives? What's the point? Why do we even have them in Congress? Why? I don't know. I don't get it. Of course it can be repealed. And when Cantor says we knew it wasn't going to be repealed, but we were raising money anyway, this is the problem. If I was elected a representative or a senator from the state of California, I know that's unlikely, but maybe I move someplace sensible, and I say I'm going to repeal this bill, then I'm going to repeal the bill. And the reason I'm going to vote to repeal the bill is because I do not want to be a damn politician. I don't want the job. I don't want it. I would rather stay and have fun and do work that's more fun and more honorable and more interesting and more creative. But if I thought the situation was so desperate that I had to go to Washington to stop this thing as a representative, and I say I'm going to vote to repeal this bill, I'm going to vote to repeal it. And if it costs me my reelection, then I will say thank you very much. I look at going to Congress the way you would look at jury duty. It's a duty, it's a civic obligation that I have to fulfill for my country as a way of returning all of the things my country's done to me, but I want to make it as quick as possible. I want to do 2 years, get the hell out of there, come back home. That's how the country was supposed to be run. That's the design. It's supposed to be citizen legislatures. So when you hear somebody like Eric Cantor say this bill cannot be repealed, he's telling you that we not only don't have a Republican government or a conservative government, what he's saying is we don't have a government. We don't. We can't control it. It's too big for us. Too big, too massive, moving too fast. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us someplace here, I think. It leaves us with a sense that we have got to find a different kind of people. Now, I know you've been hearing this forever. People saying we got to find different candidates. We don't have to find different candidates. We have to find a different kind of candidate. We have to find different people. And we have to basically go at them and say, listen, I know you don't want this job. By the way, if you find a candidate for Congress and you're convinced that person does not want the job, really doesn't want the job, that's exactly the person that you want. And if it turns out the person kind of secretly does want the job, you need to let them go, and that's not the kind of people you want. You need to find people who don't want the job. And you need to especially to find people who can explain this stuff. There's nothing in any of this that's difficult to explain. Nothing. There's nothing about conservative principles that's particularly sophisticated, nothing about it that's particularly complicated. That's why they work. That's why they work. I say this quite a bit now because I think it's really true. It dawned on me fairly lately. Look, when I was in my 20s, I was a thoroughly unpleasant person. And one of the reasons I was so unpleasant was because I was so obsessed with intelligence and how smart I was and showing everybody how smart I was. I've gotten a lot wiser since then. But one of the things I've realized over time is simply this. Any idiot can make things more complicated. It takes a genius to make things simple. And this government, this idea of government, is simple. It's very simple. They went to a lot of trouble to make it simple. So why can't we just send people who understand the basics and have them go and do their job and come home? What's the difference between conservatives and Republicans? Well, Republicans are politicians. Conservatives are patriots and citizens. And some of us are philosophers. Well, that's not true. Actually, I'm not a philosopher. I'm simply a messenger. I simply talk to people about what exists. We're not talking about Whittleism here. We're not talking about some new economic policy that I've thought up. On the contrary, my job is to simply say, all of this stuff works. It's worked since we've been a country. It's worked great. Why are we messing around with it? We can see that it's destroying the country. What's the matter with you people? Well, the matter with these people is that people want to be politicians, and even our people want to be politicians. So you get, I forget her name now, as one example among many, this senator from Alaska who was saying, oh, we must repeal this. It's a terrible bill. For the entire time that she's been elected, we must repeal this bill. And then finally we have a vote for repeal. Last week, she votes against repeal. Or Maverick John McCain, who is very fond of the spotlight, I've noticed. And by the way, so is James Comey, who's got a book coming out. You see what I mean? See what I mean? Does the FBI director need to be the kind of person who enjoys being in the spotlight and is looking forward to his multi-million-dollar book deal coming out? Is that the kind of person that we want running the federal law enforcement agency, premier law enforcement agency in the world? Is that what we want? Because if it were me, and if I was looking for somebody to fill the job of FBI director, what I would be looking for is I'd be looking for somebody who was trying to be as invisible and as anonymous as possible. I'd be looking for somebody who ran from the spotlight like somebody who was just about to catch fire in the sun, like a vampire. I'd want a guy who's focusing his entire attention on his job, which is a tough job and it's a full-time job, and publicity would be anathema to him. It'd be kryptonite to the kind of person I'd want for that job. So, who do we have? Well, we've got two different kinds of people that I think we can count on. One of them are conservative commentators, people like Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity or any of the others, who, like Ronald Reagan, learned these simple principles before they went to office. They learned simple principles before they went to office. Rush Limbaugh is a voice. Glenn Beck is a voice. He understands this stuff. Sean Hannity understands it. And it's not terribly hard. It's just stuff that we just have to understand. Dennis Miller not only understands it, Dennis Miller can put it in such a way that makes you realize how absurd the left actually is. And this is what we have to do. We have to stop finding people who can talk about it, and we have to basically take a gun, a registered firearm, by the way, which we have legally and which we use with great care and regard for safety. But we take one of those firearms and we basically walk up to one of these guys and say, listen, you have to go to Congress. And if anybody says, I don't want to go to Congress, that's when you actually chamber around, right? Now you know you got the real deal. Now you know you've got the kind of person that this country not only was based upon, but requires. Because if we have an elected priesthood that simply does what is in their personal best interest, that the idea of losing all of the perks and the travel and the status and the bowing and the kowtowing and my good friend, the great senator from the distinguished state of Alaska and all the rest of it, people who can't bear to lose that. You know, I talked to somebody who I admired very much. I got to be somewhat close friends with, I'm just losing my memory today, Alan West. And Alan West, when he became a congressman, he said, you would go out to dinner with a group of people. They'd invite you out to dinner. And in casual conversation, very offhandedly, what's your favorite kind of drink, Alan? What do you like? Oh, I guess I'm a Glenfiddich single malt guy. And then the next day, on your doorstep, no fooling, on your doorstep, you walk outside, and there's a case of 6 bottles of Glenfiddich, most expensive alcohol you can possibly find. He told me that when he got to Washington, the first thing that happened was they have a freshman representative meeting. and they go to this meeting and they're all full of fire because they've just been elected. They want to come and change things for the better. Conservatives. And they start to pitch some ideas. And then the staff members in the eternal, never-ending, immortal bureaucracy say, well, that's a great idea, Representative, but that's not how we do things here. And my response to that would be, you don't tell me how we do things here. I tell you how we do things here. I'm sent here by the people of Idaho or Florida or California. I have legal authority to be here. You are a secretary who used to have a job here. Now you're fired. Here's how we do things here. That's how we do things here now. See how it works? It's enough to make a grown man hyperventilate. Undoubtedly, more horrors will be in store for us when we come back to you on Monday. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your membership in the NRA. Champion of the Second Amendment and rapidly one of the great champions of the First. I'm Bill Whittle. This is the Hot Mic Show. We'll see you back on Monday.